Hi guys, my name is Prince EA, and I want to thank the Herald Corporation for having me at the very first H.eco Forum 2021. This is an amazing honor and a privilege to get to speak with you guys on what I think is the most important topic in the world today. Now, for those of you that don't know me, once again, my name is Prince EA. I am a content creator. I am a filmmaker. I am a director. I am a speaker. And I'd say for the last 10 years, I have dedicated my life to creating video content that can make a person's day better, right? To make somebody's day better. This is what I've dedicated my existence to create content that uplifts people instead of depresses people. And so I have been blessed. I have been just so honored to be able to have right now, I think the number is over 3 billion views on my content. I still think about that number and I'm like, wow, 3 billion freaking views is insane. But it's not just on, a dance, and it's not like a cat video. These videos have real substance. I have spoken on everything from racism to education to equality. But the most important topic that I've ever spoken on has to be climate change. Now you might say, wait, Prince, what do you mean most important topic? All of those topics are important, and you would be right, my friend. I mean, equality in education, equality in politics, equal opportunity, all of those things are amazing. However, if we don't fix climate change, then we will all be equally extinct. I think the current number today is over 100 species are pushed to extinction every single day. And if we don't change our behavior, then the human species, our time, will come sooner than later. Now, for those of you that don't know about my educational background, I got my degree in something called biological anthropology. Now, I think anthropology should be a mandatory course that every single person on planet Earth takes, right? This is how important I think it is. So anthropology, let's break the word down, right? Anthropology. Anthro meaning man or human, and pology is the study of. So anthropology is the study of humans. And there are a lot of different sub-disciplines of anthropology, everything from linguistic anthropology, the study of language. There's cultural anthropology, the study of culture. And then there's archaeology, right? We all know what archaeology is. It's the study of the human past, right? But all of these sub-disciplines of anthropology have one thing in common. They're studying humans, right? Across time and space. And I was so fascinated with this subject that I ended up getting my degree in it. I've always asked these questions. Where do we come from, right? Who are we and where are we going? And if you were to study anthropology, you would know something very significant, very cool, that the human species as we are today, we have been around for about 150 to 200,000 years. Now this, keep in mind, there are what's called hominid species, which are, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. You might be familiar with Homo neanderthalensis, Neanderthals. But Homo sapiens, or anatomically modern humans, we have been around for about 150 to 200,000 years old. This is the anthropological consensus. Now, why did I mention all of that stuff? Well, I say it because of this. Now, if you were to condense the Earth's lifespan, right? I think the Earth's lifespan is about 4.5 billion years, right? If you were to condense that into 24 hours, one day, the human species has been here, drum roll please, for 3 seconds. 3 seconds, right? That's insane, right? We have been here for 3 seconds, and look at all that we have done, right? Both beautiful, magnificent feats, and not so beautiful, destructive feats in 3 seconds. So we haven't been here very long. And I'm going to tell you this, if we don't change our behavior, and it starts with you watching this, if we don't change our behavior, then we're not going to make it to 4 seconds. Now, in this talk today, I'm not going to go into, the evidence for climate change. I think at this point, we all know that climate change is a problem and we're causing it, right? However, there are some people that are called climate deniers. And I think these might be very good people, very, smart people. They just might be a little misguided. And to these people, I say this. Say you were taking a nice stroll in the park, just a nice little stroll. And you see a Mack truck, a big truck coming at you, right? Just coming at you. It doesn't matter if the driver of that truck is intentionally trying to run you over. It doesn't matter if his brakes are gone, if he doesn't have any brakes. It doesn't matter. What you better do is what? Get out of the way. You got to get out of the way, right? So this is my point. In this presentation, and I think in our own lives, we have to be dedicated to figuring out a way to get out of the way. We got to get out of the way. It doesn't matter who caused it, who did what. We have to get out of the way, plain and simple. So in this talk specifically, I'm going to give you a little something that not a lot of people get into. And that is, how can you as an individual, what role can you play to not be a part of the problem, but finally be a part of the solution? Now, the first thing I want to do is talk about a phenomenon that I love. It's a concept, and it's called Kaizen. Kaizen, K-I-E-Z-E-N. And Kaizen, it's a Japanese principle or concept. And translated, it essentially means small steps or small improvement. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? You came here to listen to me talk about climate change, and I'm giving you words about small improvement and personal growth, right? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to give you that too, because I don't think we can handle climate change until we also grow personally. The reason I bring up Kaizen is this. This is nature's formula. It's how nature works. And it is also one of the best strategies, probably the best strategy that you can have if you want to change your life. Tiny hinges swing big doors, don't they? Let's look at a few areas in life, in culture, where the Kaizen principle permeates. Let's start with art. Now, every artist will tell you that the big picture is created by what? The big picture, the masterpiece, is created by small brush strokes, all right? Now let's go into relationships. Now, one of my favorite people in the relationship area, his name is John Gottman. Now, John Gottman is an expert. He's probably the best person on planet Earth when it comes to relationship. He studied it his whole life. He knows it. He knows how to create a good relationship. And so I'm going to give you a tip right now. I don't know, you might be in a good relationship or you might be in a rocky relationship. Doesn't matter. This tip will help your relationship, and it is this. So John Gottman, he can do something really cool. John can sit in a room with a newly engaged couple for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And after that 10 minutes is over, he can tell with 95% accuracy whether that couple will be happily married or miserable and divorced. Yeah, 10 minutes, right? When I heard this, I was like, what, how? Now, initially, you may think he would ask, how many big trips to Paris do you have planned? How many carats is in that diamond ring? But this actually plays no role in the longevity of a relationship. What John Gottman says is this. He says it's not the big gestures. It's the small moments of attention, the small moments of love, right? The eye contact at the breakfast table. It's getting your partner a glass of water when you get one for yourself. It's asking your partner, hey, did you eat today? These small gestures create big results. The small things are the big things. Now let's go into the realm of sports. You know, I'm very athletic. I love sports. Could have gone to the NBA, just wasn't tall enough. That's a joke. But yeah, I love the game. I love basketball. I'm one of the best coaches of all time, right? I think not just of basketball, but any sport, is a guy named John Wooden. John Wooden. And John Wooden, I think his win percentage rate was 80% lifetime, right? In his whole career, 80%. That's incredible, right? But John Wooden was an interesting guy. He's very smart. He coached, I think it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kareem said he was a huge mentor for him. And there's a cool picture. If you type in John Wooden and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it'll come up. It's such a just heartwarming photo. But anyway, here's what John Wooden would do for incoming freshmen coming to play for his team. I'm going to give you a second to think about this because I don't want to just blurt out the answer. But John Wooden, when freshmen came into his basketball practice, you know what he had him do for the entire week? John Wooden? Some people would say, oh, he made them practice free throws, right? Free throw. Some would say maybe he made them practice layups. Or some would say maybe he conditioned them. No. For the first week, John Wooden, the most winningest coach in basketball history, taught his players to tie their shoes. Now, this was fascinating to me. I mean, the most winningest coach in basketball history taught his kids how to tie their shoes, and I'm going to tell you why. He said because when you can tie your shoes properly, you can run up and down the court for longer periods of time without risking blisters or injury. Makes sense now, right? It is the small actions that create the big results. Now let's go into the field of science. What does science have to say about Kaizen? Well, let's look at one of the smallest particles, the atom. All scientists know that the particle, the atom, is the most explosive of them all, right? I mean, the atom wiped out 2 entire cities. I mean, the force of the atom is incredible. There's a book by a guy named James Clear. He named the book Atomic Habits because he knows that it's the small habits that create the big results. Now, how about the human body, right? We all have a human body. Now, how does the Kaizen process operate in that realm? Well, I'm going to tell you. Doctors say that the first mutation that starts the cancer process happens 50 or 60 years before you feel sick enough to go to the doctor. I mean, that's incredible. Now let's talk about nature, right? Earthquakes, hurricanes, all of these natural disasters get so much publicity, right? We're so just up in arms when these things happen, as we should be. But I'm going to tell you this. Termites, little bitty termites, create more damage than hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes combined. So this Kaizen process is so in harmony. It's nature's language, but it is also not our human first language. See, the human species, we evolved in small groups, small bands, small tribes. And as we developed, our technology outpaced our evolution of our brains, right? So we still have the same brains we did all those years back, 100,000 years ago, but our technology has outpaced it. So when we look at these long-term or large-scale issues, it's difficult for us because we only know what's in our vicinity, what's in our immediate situation or our present danger. And so we as humans, we also have to adopt the Kaizen mindset and make individual change, which will result in community change, which will result in a global effect. So, okay, Prince, you've been talking for a while now. Now, what can we do as people? What can we do? Well, I'm going to tell you this. The first thing we can do is find out our own impact that we're having on the environment. So one of my favorite websites is www.ecologicalfootprint.com. This is a free website. I'm not sponsored by them, but this is such a cool website, and I'm going to tell you why. Because anytime, when the world was open, there was this thing called malls, right? That you used to go to, I used to go to. And in the mall, you look at the map, and the map would always say, you are here, right? It was, you are here. That's not just at the mall. That's dozens of other types of maps, right? They give you a reference point. And when you go to ecologicalfootprint.com, this gives you a reference point to figure out where you are, what the impact you're having on the world is, right? So are you a part of the problem or are you part of the solution? Going to this website will really allow you to kind of audit yourself and where you are in order to make changes, because you can't make changes unless you first know where you are. So once you see the impact of your actions and your lifestyles having on the planet, then you can create a solution to figure out how you can change your behavior, change certain things like transportation, like diet, and ultimately what we want to end up at is at a neutral carbon footprint. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is probably one of the biggest things that impact climate change, and that's diet and nutrition. The decisions that we make every day play a huge role in either contributing to global warming or reversing global warming. The numbers are in. 20% of the problems we face with climate change are directly attributed to the food that we eat and the choices we make around the food that we eat. This is more than trains, cars, planes, trucks combined. Now, why is this the case? Well, without going into great detail, it's because of livestock. Livestock accounts for so much of the greenhouse gas emissions in the world, right? This is called animal agriculture. And so what's the solution? Well, I will tell you. If you're vegan, that's great. If you're vegetarian, that's great. If you're pescatarian, that's great. If you eat meat a few times a week, that's great. The thing is not to force feed, no pun intended, force feed philosophies of diet down people's throats, right? People don't change that way, right? We have to follow the Kaizen approach. Small, continuous action and steps really make the biggest impact, right? So some people have created something like Meatless Mondays, right? These small steps. Some companies have come out like Beyond Burger. These, I don't recommend eating them a lot, but for the environment, they are a better option than eating actual beef. Now, studies show that if everybody became vegan or vegetarian, that would be like taking 1 billion cars off the street each year. Now, I know what you're saying. What's in it for me? I know everybody's tuned in to WIIFM radio. What's in it for me radio? I know. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Did you know that vegans get lower costing health insurance, lower price health insurance? And why, you ask? Well, it's because vegans live longer, right? People who eat a plant-based whole food diet live longer than people that don't. I want to share a story that I find extremely powerful about why you should maybe think about switching to a plant-based whole food diet. I'm going to read it to you. This story comes from a book called The Wisdom and Healing Power of Whole Foods by Patrick Quill, PhD. So it goes like this. The number one cause of death throughout most of the 19th century was tuberculosis. Galen Clark went to Yosemite Valley to die of end-stage tuberculosis at age 42 in the fall of 1856. His doctor told him that coughing up chunks of lungs meant that he had about 2 to 6 months to live. That's crazy. There was no cure for the disease. Clark reasoned, right? He thought, well, listen, if I'm going to die, then I'm going to die in Yosemite, the prettiest place I've ever seen. So he got happy, right? Scientists now tell us that happiness brings on the flow of endorphins, which supercharge our immune system and may even slow cancer down. Now, Galen Clark carved his own tombstone. Thus, he accepted his mortality, a ritual that would give us all a better appreciation of our finite time on earth. He then starts eating. This is it. He starts eating what's available in Yosemite in those days. Clean and lean wild game, mountain trout, nuts, berries, vegetables, and lots of clean water. No sugar, no dairy. He then began doing what he wanted to do, hiking, creating trails in the place that he treasured most, Yosemite Valley. Now, Galen Clark didn't die 6 months later, as his doctor said, but rather 54 years later, just shy of his 96th birthday. I went to the mountains to take my chances of dying or getting better, which I thought were about even, says Galen Clark. Now, Galen Clark typifies the way that people eat who live the longest. Another name for it is the Mediterranean diet. So it's so fascinating that the same diet that will help combat climate change will also combat heart disease, diabetes. It will give you a sharp, clear mind, and even give you a model body. And who doesn't want to look like a model, right? So I feel like this is a win-win-win, right? So one thing also I want to say is if you're a vegan, don't be a junk food vegan, right? Be a whole food vegan, because there's a lot of unhealthy vegans that aren't really doing much better than anybody else. So I want you to eat foods that don't have the ingredient lists on them, right? Single food ingredients, right? Things like fruits, like berries, like whole grains, healthy fats, nuts, fish, things like that will not only give you a healthy body, a life that will last as long as it's meant to last, but it would also give us a healthy, healed planet. Now, next I want to talk about government, right? Our leaders. It is so important to hold our leaders accountable. Some people say our leaders, they don't care. They're not responsive. And I don't agree with that. Our leaders are very responsive. They're responsive to money, to wealth, to corporations. So I'm going to tell you this. I believe it's good to get outside and march and, protest and build that solidarity amongst the community. And I also think it's good to vote with our dollars, right? To boycott certain products, to put our money where our hearts are. We really have to realize that it is our buying power that moves and pushes these governments and these political leaders that are also financially motivated. Lastly, I want to speak about connection. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes. It comes from a man named Hubert Reeves, and he says this: "Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that this nature he's destroying is the God that he's worshiping." See, I believe we have become so disconnected from nature that we have lost our kinship to it. We go to work, we go to school, we stay trapped in these factory buildings where we're underneath these artificial lights that are really harming our health. I believe that it should be mandatory for us to go outside at least an hour a day. Obviously, for those people who don't need to be under the sun that long, they should wear suntan lotion, they should wear glasses and be safe. But I think just being outside will contribute so much to the well-being of ourselves and our connection to our planet. Now, see, I think to fix climate change, we don't need big IQs. We need big hearts. It was the Native Americans who believed that they were responsible for the environment for the next 7 generations. Not 7 years, 7 generations. They called the environment, they called nature mother, right? Mother, this word mother. And see, when you call something your mother, you don't pollute, you don't kick, you don't destroy your mother, right? You heal it, you take care of it, you bow to it. These words are so powerful. So I recommend everybody to spend some time at the park, at some World Heritage sites, just to build that connection, that necessary connection to Mother Nature. Because when we do, we will realize we are not apart from nature, we are a part of nature. Now, guys, I want to finish with this. Every motivational speaker will tell you that it takes about 60 days to change a habit. Well, see, I believe that it takes a single group to change a habitat. And in one generation, we can change our world forever. We are that generation. We are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change, and we are the last generation that can do something about it. The time is now, and it starts with you. See, I believe culture, I believe consciousness is not shifted by politicians, not by legislation. It's shifted by artists, by people, real people on the ground, right? On the day-to-day, real good people. So I ask you, what is your gift? And how can you use your gift to express actionable steps that people can take to fight climate change? You don't have to have a big following like I do. You don't have to reach 1 million people. You can just reach your current community, your friends, your family, your Instagram followers. Every person counts. Because I'll tell you this, one stone thrown into a pond can create massive ripples throughout. And when that stone sinks to the bottom, it raises the water level ever so slightly. We are those stones, and together we can wash out the old ways and wash into the new world, a world full of harmony, full of peace, full of connection, full of kindness, full of prosperity, true prosperity for all of us and all beings on the planet. And I truly believe that if we can do that, then we will make it to that 4th second. My name is Prince E.A. Peace.